Time as soon as it goes off. What's up, buddy?
What's good, brother?
Just excited for this one.
Good stuff, man.
The more you get into it, the more you just remember all this other stuff. But real quick, welcome everybody to the fifth episode of Random Thoughts with the Rev, White Trash Mike. I'm John Z. This is obviously the Rev. Uh, Shout out. We're gonna shout out Willow Seasonings real quick, our sponsor. Some of the best seasoning. We got hooked with the American Royal Barbecue Competition Reserve Grand Champion winner, the Sweet Heat, and then we tried all the other stuff, and they all quickly became our favorite. So it's really good. If you check out the scrolling ticker on the bottom, there's a link, or it has the website, and it also has a discount code for 10% off if you use John Z 2022 at checkout. So
Nice.
anyway, what's up, Rev? How's it going, man?
Going, brother. Last episode we were talking about the Italian charcuterie and we left off with Spain.
Yeah, we're moving right along.
Yeah.
Because Spain is number one in a couple of areas of food that I think most people would go to other countries.
Yeah. Absolutely. In the last episode we talked a lot about like the Italian cured meats.
hmm
So people don't realize is that Spain is like the number one place for cured pork products.
And
So I posed a little question to Brother Johnsy here and said if he could figure out why real Iberico ham is outlawed in America.
so I did. I think I watched a bunch of stuff on it because I do know what it is, but I didn't know like the whole story, everything about it. So I did a little research on it, and I couldn't get like a for sure answer, but my best guess is because it's done differently in every region, and it's not. There's no like process, and they can't like FDA do whatever their freaking crap is. That's my guess. They can't regulate or whatever.
So when you get prosciutto, like a whole prosciutto, is just like the shoulder, right? That's all that is. So when you get like an Iberico Serrano, it's an entire pig leg.
Yeah, bone, hoof, everything.
And that's the key right there. You can't import hooves into the country because of mad cow disease. It's also why they don't sell calves brain.
Calves brains. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, is that a Spanish thing or is that another place?
There's lots of regions that cook calves brains. They definitely do it in Spain. They do it predominantly where pigs are raised, man. That's kind of a thing. Or
that makes sense.
Different version. That comes back to the poor people cuisine. It's like, what do you got left? So, well, we can cook. That's where like head cheese comes from.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not actually cheese. It's when you boil like a pig's head, and then you sit there and put it in aspic and jelly and make it into a form. So you get all the good bits. You get the collagen. You get like all the brains, all that good stuff.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah.
So, speaking of, you mentioned the Iberico ham, and like these pigs are like special it's mostly on the side closest to Portugal.
Yep.
And it's I don't know if they're anywhere else I mean, I'm sure maybe like one guy somewhere has one because he grew up raising them. He lives somewhere else, maybe, but it's all indigenous right there, and they're they're kept in like pastures, but they're wild. They just live out there, and they eat nothing but what's on the forest ground: mushrooms, the greens, and the key is the acorns.
Hazelnuts. So what? One of
Oh,
the
it's
big
okay.
things.
Okay, hazelnuts. Okay. Oh.
So what they do is the farmers have a dual purpose in their farms. They have tree orchards that have nothing but hazelnuts, and they'll go in and they'll pick whatever's still on the trees, but whatever naturally falls to the ground, that's what those pigs specifically eat. It's the only region in the world that they can do that. And what's really interesting, a lot of the farmland there, it has naturally occurring formations where they don't have to put like fences, and the pigs will just rut where they can, and it's like nature's greatest like free range farm animal.
Yeah. And it's also like, I don't know if people know I used to raise pigs, and when they root, it's like natural rototillings. You don't have to do nothing, so it's keeping that farmland pristine.
And that's the same thing. They don't have to worry about overgrowth because they're gonna rut, they're gonna chew on stuff. Anytime their excrement turns into fertilizer for the trees, it's kind of like a natural circle of life. And it makes really amazing stuff out of it. Yeah.
And just like we talked about how they'll hang stuff in caves over there for a long time. Some of these hams, like it's like bare minimum 2-3 years.
Yep, 2 to 5 years is kind of the standard, and if you want something special, you're talking 20, 30 years.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. I can't even begin to imagine the flavors that come out of that kind of age.
Oh yeah, and that's the interesting thing here, like with meats and cheeses. Once they've aged a certain amount, people start thinking they go bad and they smell funky and they're these weird flavors. And in the rest of the world, that's where the flavor is. That's the best part, if you get like a good Stilton cheese, everyone thinks they're ready to throw it out because it looks kind of green and it smells off, but that's kind of what they're going for, man.
Yeah. That's you get into cheeses, like really, really get into cheeses, and some of that stuff, man, it'll turn your stomach inside out and slap you with it.
if you're not used to it, man, it definitely has some funky barnyard flavors,
Yeah. Are you sure this is not edible? Yeah, no, it
totally is.
Yeah.
And for some of us, that's always been the joke. Like when you open a fridge and someone's like, yo, what's that smell? You say either bad meat or really good cheese.
Yep. Either I didn't get to the meat in time or I'm just about to get to the cheese on time. Oh. And so one thing that's crazy is there's restaurants and bars or whatever, and you walk in and there are literally these hams hanging from the ceiling
for years.
And then there's one on the counter that they're already slicing off, and I swear they're skimpier than prosciutto, man. It is see-through rice paper thin, and the prime cut is about a square about that big for on the really good hams. And
that's kind of the thing. So when you're talking about those really strong, deep flavors, there's a lot of fat content in it. So it's super rich, super flavorful. So you're not making a sandwich out of it. It's not like a bologna and cheese, man.
Like what I told, like when we accidentally made that prosciutto ham. Yeah. And when I sliced it, and I got it thin, but it was like, it wasn't a 1/4 inch. It had to be an 1/8 at least. And I'm telling you, I couldn't even finish the last bite. I was just like full.
Yeah.
Just
beat sweat.
Yeah. It's serious.
Absolutely.
Because it's flavor beyond anything that I've, at that point, I'd never had anything that was just naturally aged in the air exactly the way they do it with cheesecloth, protected.
Yeah.
And I never had it like that before.
That's one of the beautiful things, especially when you're in the bar scene in certain places in Spain, because they do tapas, they do small plates, right?
Real quick, before we get to the tapas thing, we got a really good question just on the cured meats. Willow Seasoning is asking, how do you age your meat? Can you age any meat? Is one better than the other to age?
So a lot of it, like we've been talking about, are usually the leg portions. Mm-hmm. So you're talking like serranos, Ibericos, prosciutto, stuff like that. If you're a big hunter, if you go out and get a deer or an elk, you can do the same thing and the same procedures with that portion of the animal. And you're going to get, in addition to those funky flavors we're talking about, you get the game flavor from the meat also. So you can do it with a lot of different.
Oh, it'd be insane. An elk. Oh my gosh, an elk.
We've
we didn't get Iberico ham, but like that. Oh, dude.
Buddy of mine, actually, we did that 2 years ago, and he got drawn and got elk tags up here. And I was like, yo, can I have one of those legs? He's like, sure. What are you going to do with it? And we hung it in his garage for like a year straight. And it came out pretty good, man.
I believe it, dude. I absolutely believe it. So as far as I know, you can age anything. I've seen people age fish.
Yep.
You know, it's all you have to do is keep it protected from any bacteria or bugs getting on it. You wrap it in cheesecloth and salt and stuff. So just to get on this, how we ended up with this prosciuttos, we looked up how you make like natural with nothing added to it ham, and we covered it in salt with the seasoning. It's a certain amount of percentage per weight, and I can't remember the math right now. And we wrapped it in butcher paper, and then we wrapped it in cheesecloth, and then we hung it, literally screwed it to the back of the awning on the back porch over the winter. Like this was from January to March-ish, until it loses like 20 to 30% of its weight in water. And then we took it out of the butcher paper, rinsed all that off, and then all the salt and stuff, put it back in the cheesecloth and hung it till the first one till Easter, and then the second one we cut into it around between Thanksgiving and Christmas, and we're massively, awesomely surprised.
Absolutely, man. It's a real simple procedure that takes a lot of time. Mm-hmm. That's the big thing. But
yeah, the hardest part's waiting.
Wait, and that's it. And all you're really dealing with is the evaporation and loss of moisture. And if you do it right, the enzymes naturally occur inside the animal's tissues. Is going to break down and change the complex flavors in the different fibrous tissues. So once you extract all of that moisture, that's what you're left with, is the fat content, the meat, and the flavor. And that's where all that goodness comes from.
Yeah, exactly.
You can also do that process with like processed meats. So if you've ever seen salami hanging up in a deli, they're doing the exact same thing.
Yep.
They're propagating those natural enzymes and removing the moisture.
And this is the perfect leading right into what Rose Backyard Barbecue right here says. As long as you're trimming off the pellicle, what's underneath is all that pellicle is a natural process to protect everything underneath it.
Yep.
So
exactly.
What's up, Frank? Anyway, so we started. You brought up tapas, and I wanted to pause and get to that because tapas is like one of the coolest aspects about Spain, I think.
Absolutely,
so just give a little a brief, and then we'll start talking about it.
So the concept is small plates. So if you go into a bar and you're having a couple of drinks, predominantly it's free. You're not paying for it. And they have cured meats, cheeses, cured fish,
fancy escargot, like
Absolutely.
It's like Spanish sushi. Some of these plates, it's crazy looking.
And what's really interesting is the bartenders, the guys behind the bar who are offering you this stuff, they see what you're drinking and they're going to match it to balance all the flavors. So if you get like the Serrano or Iberico hams, they're going to give you a nice Manchego cheese and then maybe some cured sardines with it. So you have a good balance.
It's just crazy. It's like we think we do these pub crawls and all this stuff over here, and even in like, I mean, I'm challenging anywhere that calls themselves a pub place. You're not beating Spain, dude. They have it. It's like it's not even. It's an art and an experience completely, man.
Absolutely, and it's nothing that you're gonna get anywhere else in the world.
No way. And like, what's crazy is in some of the more modern, areas, they even have stuff like they have American craft beers that they've paired with their like what goes good with the jamon and what goes good with the sardines or the seafood tapas and what it's.
Absolutely.
They nailed it.
And that's the cool thing. So like, as long as you're sitting there having a beer, they're going to bring you more. That's one of those cultures where you can't really say no because it's just going to happen.
And it's like everything, like it's just course after course. Even with the tapas, these little single, at the most something comes with maybe 4 little things,
Yeah. But you get 90 of them.
Yeah, but it's like if it's a little taco thing, usually it's not anything you think a taco is. It's like this stacked crazy raw tuna with these bits of sliced Iberico ham with this like special leaf, and you're just supposed to grab the leaf, and it's mind blowing all the stuff they do.
Absolutely, and that's one of those things. These are places that have been doing this for almost 1,000 years now, man.
There is a restaurant there that has been in operation since it's 1725 or 1729, something like that. The wine cellar down there started in like 15 something.
Yep.
And it's still there. There's like bottles that are like, what?
Yeah. What people don't realize is, so Spain is one of like the longest dynasties around, right? So they're one of the countries that propagated the spice trade. They were that's the story of America, how they sent
exactly
a bunch of ships to find do spice trades. They'd go all the way around the world and bring it back for King Ferdinand. That's kind of the thing. That's why you have such immense variety of flavors and such strong flavors, because they can pull it from anywhere in the world.
The one thing that blew my mind, speaking of spices, is what like they're the biggest spice they're known for, or like they're like it's like the spice of the country. It's saffron.
Absolutely.
I thought that was more like farther eastern.
It totally is. That's where this comes from. They went from India and Pakistan, and China, Southeast Asia, and all those island nations, and they brought it back. And they said, if you're the king of the country, you get to pick the best at everything. And that's how chocolate became a thing. They explored the New World, air quotes, and when the Spanish came to Mexico and Central and South America, they found the Aztecs drinking this beverage that was the ground up seeds of this fruit. And they brought it back, and then all the aristocracy of Europe wanted to keep chocolate as like the rich people's drink.
Of course.
Yeah. And then a couple hundred years later, here in America, we industrialized the process and went, all right, we're going to make chocolate bars, and we're going to add like milk fats and sugars and stuff to it.
Mm.
Kind of double down, and now you can get a chocolate bar for like 50 cents.
Yeah.
But if
Well,
it wasn't, yeah, well, if it wasn't for the Spaniards exploring all of this stuff, we wouldn't have any of it. You're from California. I'm from Arizona. Do you like chorizo?
Yeah. This is
where you think that comes from.
Yeah. That's like their number one, like, cured meat sausage deal that anybody would be able to touch is like, and they have like Iberico.
And here's the thing. So we're used to having chorizo. That's something you scramble up with eggs and put in a burrito, right? That's breakfast for us, right? Well, in Spain, it's kind of like their version of like sopressata. That is like,
yeah, it is like everywhere, done in so many different ways. Sometimes, like, it's served just by itself in slices as a tapas.
Yeah, absolutely.
In lots of different areas. Like, that's one of the levels that you're getting.
And that's kind of thing. Like, you can't go to a store in America and get chorizo and slice it. That's not a thing.
No, it's just absolutely mush. Yeah.
Yeah. It's an ingredient to make something else out of. But the actual, like, traditional chorizo is actually a cured sausage that they hang, age, and dry. And, depending on what region of Spain you're talking about, is the kind of pigs they use and the kind of flavorings they add to it. You're not going to find, any of those spices in the chorizo we get. Like, there's no saffron in your breakfast burrito.
No, not at all. No way.
Hey, the funny thing, I had a friend of mine do this tour of Europe, and he bought a bunch of Spanish saffron by like the bag. Like, they literally like scoop it into a plastic bag and weigh it.
Yeah.
They're like $4.
Yeah.
And he like sent it back to me. I'm like, bro, this is like $1,000. He's like, I know.
Yeah. It's insane. It's insanely expensive.
You know what saffron actually is?
I don't, actually.
So if you look at a flower and you look past the petals, there are those tiny little hairs inside of every flower.
Okay, that is what it is. That's what it looks like. So
that's what it is. They're called the stamen of the flower, and that's where the scent comes from the flower, and that's where bees get
all the
stuff
pollen
to make the honey. Absolutely.
The nectar.
And allegedly, that's why it's so expensive, because they literally have to go and take apart a flower and pull out all of those tiny little hairs to get to the saffron.
And I can imagine how many flowers it takes to get a freaking like
an ounce, yeah.
Yeah, holy crap, yeah. Especially once it's dried, because everything weighs less when it's dried too. So,
and that's kind of the thing. Like, how much would you have to pay a guy here to do that?
Oh, yeah, he's not. That's not. No.
Yeah. How much do you think they're paying the kid in Thailand to do that?
Yeah.
There's the difference.
In a week, less than what you paid for Starbucks in the morning, folks.
And this is one of the big things what people don't realize. So I've been privy to taking tours of like a bunch of food service facilities over the years, whether it's like Cisco or Shamrock or whatever. And a couple years ago, we did a tour of Cisco, and we got to actually go to some of their farms and stuff here in the States. And here's why everything is so expensive. So there was a period of time where we had migrant workers who would come from other places, and we would pay them, and they would work 18, 19 hours a day picking whatever for these companies. Well, nobody wants to do that anymore. It used to be a generational thing. Like, if you were a migrant worker, your dad was, and so was your grandfather, and so was his dad. Well, now everybody has iPhones and Nikes, and they're like, I am not spending 20 hours a day.
I'm not working like that. They don't even want to be electricians anymore. So it's like, whatever.
Yeah. And that's the thing. So if you can't get people to do it, guess what? You're going to have to pay 1,000,000 times more.
Yep.
Yeah.
Plus, anything coming over the ocean is costing you at least quadruple minimum right off the gate. So.
And you know what? This is one of my biggest beefs when it comes to all this. So here we have something called the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, right? Mm-hmm. They're the ones who set the laws for the importation of food products.
Yep.
It has to fall into certain legal ramifications, right?
Yeah, these suck.
So you can't get like beluga caviar. You can't get French cheeses. You can't get like certain Italian and Spanish meats because it doesn't fall into their criteria. But if you go to other countries, most of the shit we eat here has been banned in other countries. Like Code Red Mountain Dew, outlawed.
Banned, yeah.
Anything with red dye number 40,
gone.
Yeah.
We don't. None of our like food that we make here gets sold and shipped anywhere. It's not allowed.
You want to know how ballsy America is? There's a McDonald's in India.
Yeah, but it's like
they don't eat. They don't
do beef. Yeah, it's all chicken.
Yeah, you can get it's the Maharaja Mac instead of the fucking Big Mac.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
Like, what kind of ignorant, ballsy shit is it that you're like, fuck it, I'm gonna have a McDonald's in India and Pakistan and shit? Why would you do that? Just trying to ruin the world.
Like, it's only a few more years before they slowly start slipping the beef in to somehow, you know what I mean? Come on.
Did you hear about the lawsuit McDonald's had about that back in the 90s?
No.
So everyone loved like the McDonald's French fries. You notice they taste different now than they did like 15, 20 years ago?
Oh, yeah.
Do you know why?
I mean, no.
So everybody puts salt on their French fries, right?
Yeah.
Well, McDonald's had a proprietary seasoning blend that they would put on there, right? So it was, yeah. So it was basically dried beef bouillon. You know, bouillon cubes?
Oh, yeah.
So to make that, it's dried beef blood. That's how you get those flavors, and they add salt to it. So they were putting fucking beef blood on their French fries in fucking India.
Oh, no.
Yeah, now you get it, huh?
I thought
that's
it was
the problem
over here. Oh, no. Yeah, see, that's what I'm talking about. They'll just do it. Fuck it. They don't care. Bastards.
Yeah, man.
Oh, dude.
Like,
oh, man.
The Golden Arch.
To clip that one. The Golden Arch is a doom.
Dude, it's like Anthony Bourdain said, man. If it's the Colonel, the Clown, or the King, you're in fucking trouble.
Dude. Yes, dude. Like, hell fucking whatever. It doesn't matter. It is, you're getting screwed over completely.
Absolutely, dude. You know? That was like that big scandal McDonald's just had. They're going through now. They tried bringing back all this nostalgia crap, but they got a different sponsor to do it. So none of the things are the same. Like the adult Happy Meals were going to be like nostalgia toys. None of the shit's the same. And then people got all mad and offended. It's like, well, first of all, you're in your 40s. Don't buy a fucking Happy Meal. Number one.
That's the thing. It's like when you start really realizing who the ones that are complaining. It's like, okay, well, there's our problem to begin with. Hey, here he is, right here. There he is.
The man himself, Brother Tony. Yeah, you know what? You're 40 years old buying a fucking Happy Meal.
Yeah.
So,
sorry didn't have.
Yeah, sorry you didn't get your McNugget toy, dude. You know, go have a real fucking meal.
Yeah, cook something. Crying out loud, dude.
Like, for real. Learn how to do something.
Man.
There's a great book that I encourage everyone to read.
Oh, here we go.
Okay? Read something called The Crisis of Comfort.
The Crisis of Comfort.
And it basically lines out how everybody in the world, in first world countries like our own, has gotten so lazy to the point they've forgotten how to live life.
Oh, yes, 100%. And you know what? That's the one cool thing that happened from, like, the pandemic, is all of a sudden you had to do stuff.
Yeah.
The rest of us who'd been doing stuff our whole lives, that was to walk in the, we can't go to work? Sweet.
I got tons of time to do all the crap I want. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
The funniest thing for me is, like, for the past couple of years, I do baker prep at a restaurant. That's kind of like my semi-retirement. I go in like 3-4 hours a day, and all I do is make fucking pizza doughs and shit from scratch, right?
Yeah.
And during the pandemic, I was at the grocery store one time, and there was this lady, like, dumbfounded by the selection of bakery. She's like, I can't find bread. I need to learn how to bake bread. And I'm like, learn it? Shit, I made like 1,800 of those this week.
Yeah. And, like, dude, you can literally make a loaf of bread in your oven. Go and buy like an enamel cast iron pan at your local discount clothing store that has a kitchen section, like Ross or TJ Maxx. You can get them for like $20-$30. It's literally 4 ingredients. It's like baking soda, yeast, flour, water. You let it sit for a little bit of time while the oven heats up, and you stick it in there on parchment paper, and you have this amazing artisan bread that people will think you're like some baking god. And it was
like 4 ingredients.
Yeah.
That's one of the things. The simplicity of design, man.
Yeah.
Like, when people overthink shit, I mean, that's one of the biggest things. And, like, if you're a chef, you can amaze people. And what we do for a living, we're bullshit artists. That's the number one thing I'm going to do. It's straight bullshit you into giving me your money. Because everything is really simple. It's all the same techniques and just experimenting with different ingredients.
Yeah.
That's all it is. And people are going to pay you a lot of money for it. We're talking about, like, tapas and the small plate thing. You live in Northern California. You ever heard of the French Laundry?
Oh, yeah.
Do you know what they actually do?
No, I know it's a super fancy restaurant.
Yeah, Tom Keller is like the #1 chef in America. He's got like 1 million Michelin stars. But he does small plates. That's all it is. But you get like
that's right.
But you get like 80 of them.
Yeah. No, it's literally like the saucer size that like teacups come on, or tiny bit bigger. That's all it is.
Yeah,
and it's
the
like
boot, the single bite. Yeah.
Yeah, but I bet you it still sucks compared to what they got going on in Spain.
Well, and that's the thing. So there's always been this big push in the restaurant industry to be nouveau and come up with new ideas and all of this stuff and whatever is the in thing and try to double down on whatever concept is going to make money right now.
Yeah, I know.
No matter what you can come up with, it will never beat something somebody's been making for 100 years.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's a reason that restaurant has been open and the fires have not stopped burning for 300 years. And they're literally, their main dish is a tiny suckling pig that they roast in a brick oven. Yep. That's it.
And they've been doing it for,
since
300 years.
25 or whatever it is.
Yeah. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Yeah.
Now that we're back on Spain, the other crazy thing that blew my mind, and this is one thing I don't think most people would guess, is Spain is like the world leader for olive oil.
Yeah.
And it is such a big deal there. They straight up have olive oil tastings like Napa has wine tastings. Oh, yeah. In the same glasses with the same motions, all of it. That was the coolest thing to see.
Absolutely, man. They have like what they call the olive oil mafia, and it's definitely controlled by like the same like 3 or 4 families, and they have
Yeah, because even if you look it up, it's like five top. They're like, no matter where you look, there's a ton. There's an absolute ton all over Spain, but there's like 5 top, and it all comes from some family. Oh, it's the such and such family. Well, this is the such and such family from this region that's been doing it for
Exactly. And that's kind of the thing. What people don't realize is, so olive oil comes from olive trees, right? Mm-hmm. There's a very specific kind of terrain that olive trees grow in. So in the northern regions of Italy, where it's really dry and it's real rocky soil, well, that's the same thing in the foothills of Spain, right? It's also the same regions of Israel that have the same exact kind of soil content and rocky terrain, and that's where that comes from.
That's like, now I want like a huge like wine cabinet you'd see in some like fancy bougie house, but it's all going to be olive oils.
And that's the cool thing about that. You can totally do it because you're going to go to Spain and get olive oil from Spain. What region? What town? Yeah. What village in what town, and what family in what village in what town in what region?
Yeah. Oh, did you want it to pour over stuff or to cook with, or did you want it to for moisturizing? Did you want it for? It's insane. It's like, good on them, man, because it's natural. It's so good. Like olive oil is so good for you. So
it is. It's a really simple technique to make, but it's a really complex procedure. So here's the thing. Where does the olive oil come from? It comes from olives, right? Mm-hmm. So you have to harvest all your olives, and then you have to crush them. Mm-hmm. Well, like most fruits and vegetables, they have a large content of water in them, right? So once you press all your olives to get your moisture content out of it, you have to figure out how to separate the oil and the water. And depending on who does it and how they do it and where they're from affects the flavor and textures of that oil.
Yeah, it makes me just want to go there.
See, this is one of the reasons why I'll never win the lottery, because I die of stress.
Yeah. I'd be living on. Like 2 years, I'd be 400 pounds and dead.
Yeah, you'd be pushing me around on a cart and shit because, about to have a fistula from eating nothing but like Spanish and Italian hams and drinking olive oil and cheeses and shit. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'd move immediately somewhere where I could have Iberico hams. And since I won the lottery, I might as well just move to where they make them, because there's no laws anywhere over there that you can't import meats from anywhere else. So,
yeah,
it's only us, folks. It's only us.
Hey, you know what that really comes down to? Like everything here, that comes down to money.
Yep, it is. That's exactly.
If they could figure out a way where they could legalize it and tax it, they totally have to.
Yeah, that's then it would cost $10,000 a leg instead of $4,500.
Yeah, of course. And that's the same reason why artisan distilling at home is against the law federally. Yep. They have something called the ABC man, the guys who regulate the taxes on it. That's all it comes down to.
Exactly. That's the only thing, is because all of a sudden, we're not making the profit that we make.
Exactly. And here's the thing: certain states in the country, it's legal to make your own liquor. Mm-hmm. They don't care, because they also know you're not selling that much. Yeah. As long as you don't like transport it or sell it, you're fine, and they don't care.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One of these days we'll get our heads out of our ass and we'll be able to have nice things. But until then, here we are.
I live here. That's a pipe dream, bro.
Yeah. Right.
Maybe I was gonna say this because I'm not a politics guy. I don't really care, but I definitely am into logic and common sense.
Bingo.
So it doesn't matter like what side you vote for or whatever. You realize everybody who's on those ballots is like 75 years old. Do you think they have any concept of what it's like to cash a paycheck?
They haven't cashed a paycheck since they got into office 40 years ago.
When do you think the last time they pumped their own gas was?
Oh, or drove.
Yeah, and that's kind of the point, you know. Whoever you're voting for, you know, the Speaker of the House has had that seat in the Senate in California for 50 years.
Mm-hmm.
She got elected in 1970.
I know. That's why we can't have nice things. Not to get into politics.
That's why we can't have nice things, Johnsy. That's why we can't have nice things.
Oh man, see, it wasn't all the screw ups' fault. We told you guys.
I'm just saying, it's.
Yeah.
I mean, how old is Mitch McConnell? That guy's like in his 80s.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of the same thing. It's like, bro, you are so far removed from the actual people in this country.
Yeah, and it's unfortunately it's like that, like all the way down to the city I live in. Like the brewery here had a really nice spot downtown. There was an open lot across the street. They wanted to do concerts, and I think I've mentioned this before, but so they built a place out in the country. Screw you guys. It's ridiculous.
You know, like, and that's the same thing here.
Yeah, and it's the same thing everywhere because that paid more.
Absolutely. A couple years ago, Ruger was gonna build a factory here and bring something like 2,000 new jobs to town. Yeah. And the city went, you know, we don't really want that here. Like we're gonna break ground like in 6 months to build their warehouses and factories and everything. And the city kind of
money on it, hella money by then.
So this town called Prescott, like an hour away, was like, we'll do it.
Yep.
So now if you look at any of their products, it says made in Prescott, Arizona. Yeah. It's the same thing. It's why we can't have nice things.
My cousin lives out there and he does something with firearms. He's always flying around to different gun shows. Shout out, cuz.
Nice. Hey, you know, I just want to be able to get like decent food here once in a while, man.
Yeah, like it was so okay. Here it is, right? We watch these foodie shows. Like everybody knows Anthony Bourdain, a household name. That dude brought cuisine right into your living room, stuff no one had ever seen before. And since then, you know, we've got crazy foods with that guy who'll eat anything bugs and just the whole gambit, the whole board.
Yeah.
And everybody sits every week, or they stream it, or they binge watch it on YouTube. And we could have all those things if we, you know, like it's not anything weird. It's not like, but now it's like the illusion of Spanish cuisine, like and you know, the mystical Italian, you know, it's like, gosh, man.
You know, and that's the funny thing. We watch these, especially travel shows like what Anthony Bourdain did, or, you know, all this stuff. And people here are mystified by it, you know, like there's some wizardry going on.
Yeah. What is this magic?
But then you go there and these people are like, it's lunch, you know? And that's the kind of thing. So we can't bring that here. So what stops us from going there?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know how many people I know who like love Taco Tuesdays? I'm like, you live 4 hours from the border. You could literally walk across it, and you will never experience what real Mexican food is like. You're like, yeah, no, I don't think so. Like, what are you doing with your life, man?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, like, life is literally the sum of the experiences. And you're literally opting out on purpose. I just don't get it.
Like I said, like, you get a chance, read that book, Crisis of Comfort. Yeah. And it basically says, there's this big thing where he talks about screen time and putting your phone down. And there's been a lot of people who read it and like talked to the author, said, so I try and do what you do and it doesn't work. And he's like, well, what are you doing? And he says, well, I put my phone down, then I watch TV.
Yeah. That's that common sense stuff, Rev. That's that logic and common sense stuff that gets people every time.
I'm just saying, dude. It's like, we all hated math class in school, right? Like, none of us, 99% of us, never use trigonometry or calculus or any of that crap, right?
Or even algebra, man. I mean,
yeah, but you know what it did teach you to do? It taught you to solve problems and think about things.
Yeah, true. Yep. Yeah,
people
and
having critical thinking skills to be able to figure that stuff out.
Yeah, that's gone. That is
absolutely, and that's one of the biggest things. You say, well, I could just pull it up on my phone. Right now, we are one of the most knowledge-rich and wisdom-poor generations and countries in the world.
Excellent way. Yeah, that's a perfect way to say it.
I usually like to simplify it and say, do you know what the difference between knowledge and wisdom is?
My interpretation of knowledge is like knowing something. Wisdom is like understanding and experience.
Sure. So knowing that tomatoes are a fruit is knowledge. Being smart enough not to put them in a fucking fruit salad is wisdom.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Okay. That's a very simple. There it is. You heard it here, folks. So
we talk.
Go ahead. Same thought.
So we're talking about Spain, and I think for the next episode, we're going to have to discuss. In Spain, there's a region called the Basque region, and I think this kind of deserves its whole own episode.
I agree.
Because one of the fascinating things about this, it's in Spain technically, right?
It is, yeah.
But if you ask someone of Basque origins or anyone in Spain, they're going to tell you it's a different country.
Yep. They're totally separate people, and they're cool. Everybody's cool with it.
Absolutely. I antiquate it. It's like the 5 boroughs in New York, right?
Yeah.
So everyone knows what like Queens and Brooklyn are, right? Technically, they're part of New York City because they're the 5 boroughs.
Mm-hmm.
But geographically, they're on Long Island. But if you ask someone from Long Island,
hell no.
Is Bronx and Brooklyn and Queens part of Long Island? They'd be like, no, that's part of the city.
Yeah.
It's very much like that.
Are you kidding me?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they do, man, that's like a whole nother level too.
Absolutely.
Man, like, honestly, and folks, we are just scratching the surface of every area that we're talking about, just so you know, even the previous shows.
Absolutely.
There's so much more. We'd have to spend a month or more talking about each region of each place we've talked about.
I have the hopes that we pique your interest to the point where you want to find out more.
Exactly.
Like, the interesting stuff that we're talking about and bringing up is, like you said, it's just scratching the surface, just the tip of the iceberg. There's all kinds of amazing things that we don't delve into, but I do have the hopes that it'll eventually, you'll research some things. You'll look at this.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I know this is a horrible thing to say because we want people to watch. Put the phone down. Go do something.
Yeah. For real.
Absolutely.
So Basque region next week. Awesome.
Yes, sir. Sounds like a plan to me, brother.
Yeah, we've been rocking almost 50 minutes, so I guess these ones are going to be a little longer now.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for sticking around, everybody. Thanks for everybody watching. Thank the sponsors.
Absolutely.
Thank the Dude Network.
Like, share, and follow.
Yes, like, share, and follow. Good call, Rev. We'll see you guys next week.
Next week, y'all.